On the 16th of December 2021, what began as a joyful celebration for the young pupils at Hillcrest Primary School in Devonport, Tasmania, soon turned into a day of unimaginable tragedy and horror as a massive gust of wind suddenly lifted a bouncy castle carrying children high into the air. The inflatable structure, which had been the centerpiece of the school's end-of-year festivities, was quickly swept off the ground with 8 children inside and 1 waiting right outside it. In a horrifying moment, the bouncy castle soared and then crashed down, sending children plummeting from the sky. But how on earth could something like this happen, especially when the weather conditions were not out of the ordinary? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous Tasmanian jumping castle disaster. Devonport is a city located on the northern coast of Tasmania, Australia. It's a key hub in the region and serves as one of the main gateways to Tasmania, especially due to its port facilities. With a population of around 26,000 people, the community is close-knit and known for being friendly. The community often comes together for local events, markets, and festivals, fostering a strong sense of belonging. And on the 16th of December 2021, the day was about the children of Hillcrest Primary School, located in West Devonport. It was the last day of the school year, and for some of them, their last ever day in primary school altogether. They called this the big day in, and it was pretty much a school fair and fun day for the children. There were around 40 pupils there from year 5 and year 6 who were tasked with different activities. For the day, the school had hired a bouncy castle from the company Zorb, along with inflatable Zorb balls, which are inflatable balls people can enter. The day had only been getting started as 9 children were playing on or near the bouncy castle. This is when disaster struck. Seemingly out of nowhere, at approximately 10 AM, a gust of wind swept under the bouncy castle, which sent it flying into the air. The inflatable Zorb balls were also blown around. The bouncy castle went up with such momentum that even with 8 children on board, it made no difference. As it went up, the children inside were sent flying to the ground, some falling from heights of 10 meters. Some of the children landed on the grassy bank nearby, and others landed on the oval. Horrified witnesses, including other students and teachers, could do nothing but watch as the children dropped. As the children lay unconscious on the floor, the bouncy castle carried on moving until it got stuck in a tree where it came to rest. Horrified teachers and fellow students ran to the children to give them CPR as emergency services were called. News quickly spread to parents in the small community, and they rushed to the school to see if their children were okay. However, once they arrived at the school, they were made to wait outside the school gates as emergency services dealt with the situation. For many, this was the longest wait of their lives, as they didn't know if their children were alive or dead. Apparently, according to official documents, parents waited hours outside the school with little to no information on the children. At 11:30 AM, one of the parents even posted on social media that they still did not know if their child was injured. Several ambulances and police vehicles rushed to the scene to aid the injured children who were still on the floor. As medical teams dealt with the injured, rescue helicopters were flown in to transport the children to hospital. The rescue teams were visibly distraught as they did everything they possibly could to save them. Tragically, out of the 9 children, 5 of them were pronounced dead on the scene. These were 11-year-old Addison Stewart, 12-year-old Zane Meller, 12-year-old Jai Sheehan, 12-year-old Jalea Jones, and 12-year-old Peter Dodd. 4 other children were rushed to hospital with critical injuries, and it wasn't certain if they would make it. Sadly, in the hospital, 11-year-old Chance Harrison would later die from his injuries. After the children were transported to hospital and the place was evacuated, police and ambulance staff were seen embracing each other. One of the paramedics said that emergency health workers went above and beyond their calling. Following the incident, the Tasmanian Education Department placed a ban on bouncy castles at schools. They released a statement saying, "Following the tragic incident at Hillcrest Primary School yesterday, the decision has been made to place a ban on the use of all jumping castles and inflatable amusement equipment on all sites." Thankfully, the other 2 children that were rushed to hospital would live, but their recovery would be anything but easy. It was stated their recovery would be very slow after suffering many injuries including blunt force trauma and broken bones. One child, Beau Medcraft, was able to return home to recover pretty soon after arriving in the hospital, but doctors had to work around the clock to keep the other two alive. One person who worked in the hospital said, "The list of injuries on these kids is a mile long." So how could this happen? At first, the police believed it was due to a massive wind event. However, 10 kilometres away at Devonport Airport, nothing out of the ordinary in terms of wind was recorded. The police released a statement saying, "That forms part of the investigation. We need to continue our investigation on behalf of the coroner and also with WorkSafe Tasmania. We all have a lot of questions and we need to form that as part of our investigation." They found that the strongest recorded gust of wind in the area that day was 22 kilometres, which isn't out of the ordinary. Whilst the investigation was underway, the mourning families laid their kids to rest. A GoFundMe was created and a significant allocation of resources was dedicated to support counselling services for the children, first responders, teachers, and other members of the school community. This included $800,000, which was announced by Prime Minister Scott Morrison. However, due to issues, it took over 4 months for the families of the victims to receive the money, which led to many people criticising the local council. The families weren't the only ones struggling to come to terms with what happened, as it was revealed that over a year later, 12 of the emergency service staff who responded that day were still on mental health leave due to what they had seen. The tragedy prompted an overwhelming wave of sympathy and support for the grieving families, with many travelling to Devonport to pay their respects. Hundreds of mourners visited the school, leaving flowers, toys, candles, and messages of support. People in the community knew something wasn't right. The wind wasn't completely crazy that day, so how could the bouncy castle have blown away so easily? The finger would obviously point at the castle's operator, Rosemary Ann Gamble, and her company, Tazorb. She supplied the bouncy castle and with 2 other people, set it up. Partway through the investigation, Rosemary was charged with failing to comply with workplace health and safety requirements. According to an article on ABC, the Director of Public Prosecutions claims Miss Gamble and 2 other workers only anchored the jumping castle at 4 of the 8 required points, despite having enough pegs available on the day. It also alleges that the pegs were not installed at the recommended 45-degree angle. It went on to say, it further claims workers did not receive the necessary information, training, instruction, and supervision to properly set up the jumping castle. It alleges those actions exposed the children to a risk of serious injury or death. Rosemary would plead not guilty, and the trial will take place later on this year. However, this is still ongoing. Many people believe it was just a freak accident, and due to the cover on the bouncy castle, wind got trapped, which propelled it upwards. There have been theories that maybe a mini tornado formed, but again, we will know more after the trial. Ultimately, 6 children lost their lives that day, and families were destroyed forever. A relative of victim Chance Harrison said, "It is just such a tough time. We don't even want to celebrate Christmas." A ceremony was held in Devonport on the 1-year anniversary of the accident. Hundreds of first responders, relatives, and friends met at the city's market square as a photo montage of the children was shown on a big screen. Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe said, "Over the past 12 months, Tasmanians have come together as one, wrapped their arms around everyone. We acknowledge, though, that no matter how hard we try, no matter how hard we will continue to try, we will never able to truly walk in the shoes of those who have lost so much. We will never forget your precious children, and we will always walk alongside you in your grief. May these children rest in peace." As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go that extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. Like I said, this trial is currently ongoing as we speak, and the results should be released sometime this year. When they do, I will update everyone in my community tab. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.